United States Navy, the most powerful maritime force on the planet, has surrounded Venezuela. Warships are on patrol.
Picture this. The United States Navy, the most powerful maritime force on the planet, has surrounded Venezuela. Warships are on patrol, radars are sweeping the Caribbean, and the order from Washington is clear. Stop the oil. This is a full-blown naval blockade. Now, picture this. Since January, not one, not two, but about a dozen massive oil tankers have simply vanished. One moment they're blips on a satellite map loaded with millions of barrels of crude. The next moment they're ghosts gone. So, how do you hide something as big as a skyscraper floating across the ocean? The answer is deceptively simple, and it's changing the game of global power. These tankers switch into what's called dark mode. Think of it like this. Every modern ship has a transponder, a kind of maritime GPS beacon that constantly shouts, "Here I am." To go dark, the crew just turns it off. It's the equivalent of putting your phone on airplane mode while driving a 300 meters long ship. To the digital world, to the satellites, to the Navy's screens, the vessel disappears into a blind spot. It becomes a shadow moving across the sea. And right now, a fleet of these shadows carrying an estimated 12 million barrels of Venezuelan oil is slipping through the world's most powerful net. But this begs the biggest question. Why is this oil so important that it's worth this incredible high-stakes game of hide-and-seek? Let's cut to the heart of it. This isn't just about a few shiploads of oil. This is about the ultimate treasure chest. Forget Saudi Arabia. Forget Russia. The single country sitting on the largest proven oil reserves on Earth, more than anyone else, is Venezuela. We're talking about over 300 billion barrels of crude still in the ground. To put that insane number in perspective, it's a treasure so vast it could power entire economies for decades. It's $1 trillion prize buried under Venezuelan soil. For the government in Caracas, this oil isn't just a commodity. It's the only lifeline. It's the sole source of hard cash for a country crushed by economic crisis. Selling this oil is what keeps the lights on, literally and politically. For the United States, cutting off that lifeline is the ultimate pressure tactic. The blockade isn't just about sanctions. It's a direct attempt to control the future of that resource, to decide who profits from it. So when tankers go dark and slip away, it's not just an evasion. It's Venezuela fighting for its economic survival using its greatest and only weapon. And every barrel that gets through is a message. You cannot easily strangle a country that holds the keys to the world's biggest gas tank. But to pull this off, Venezuela needed more than just dark ships. They needed a whole secret system and a very willing buyer on the other side of the world. Let's demystify the ghost ship. It's an older tanker bought on the cheap, owned by a maze of shell companies. Its power isn't invisibility cloaks. It's secrecy. The crews operate with cash, fake papers, and encrypted chats. When they go dark, they disappear from the official world, leaving no digital trail to follow. They are the ultimate maritime gray zone. And here's the key. Venezuela didn't invent this. They had excellent teachers. Look at the real masters of this game, Iran and Russia. For years, they've run massive shadow fleets, a secret shipping system built to beat sanctions. Venezuela simply used their playbook. They connected their need to sell oil with this existing global shadow network. So, this isn't just Venezuela versus the US Navy anymore. It's the Navy versus a proven global method for beating American power. And that method has one very big willing customer. Now, a ghost ship needs a destination. All that Venezuelan oil slipping through the blockade isn't going into a void. It's heading to one primary place, China. And to understand why, you need to see it from Beijing's point of view. This isn't about picking a fight. It's about smart, long-term strategy. First, it's about energy security. China's economy is a giant engine that needs constant fuel. Diversifying where that oil comes from is a national priority. Buying from Venezuela, especially at a likely discount because of the sanctions, is a good deal. It's like having an extra tap you can turn on. Second, and perhaps more importantly, it's about building influence. Every barrel of oil China buys is a vote of confidence in Caracas. It deepens a partnership, creates dependency, and gives China a strong friend in America's backyard, who happens to own the world's largest oil reserves. For China, this situation isn't a crisis. It's an opportunity to secure resources and quietly demonstrate that the world can operate on terms beyond just Washington's rules. But this very willingness from China creates a massive real-world problem for the force trying to stop the oil, the US Navy. So let's put ourselves on the deck of a US destroyer for a moment. Your orders are to enforce the blockade and stop this oil. Your radar picks up a huge vessel, a tanker, but its transponder is off. It's a ghost. What do? You can't just blow it out of the water. International law is a gray area here. If you board it, you're seizing a ship in international waters. A hugely aggressive act. Now, imagine the intelligence comes in. That ghost ship ahead is actually Chinese flagged with a Chinese crew. The calculation changes instantly. Suddenly, it's not just about oil or sanctions. Intercepting that ship could trigger a major diplomatic explosion or worse. The captain on that destroyer has to ask, is stopping this one tanker worth potentially starting an international crisis? This is the blockade's fatal flaw. It's one thing to declare a quarantine from Washington. It's another thing entirely to enforce it on the chaotic high-stakes open ocean where every move is watched by rivals ready to call your bluff. The Navy's strength is tied down by politics. And in that hesitation, the Dark Fleet keeps sailing. Let's talk about the ripple effect. Every single time a dark tanker loaded with Venezuelan oil docks safely in China, it sends a shock wave through the world of sanctions and international pressure. It's not just a win for Venezuela, it's a win for the entire shadow system. Think of it as a real-world test case and it's passing with flying colors. Countries like Iran, Russia, and North Korea are watching closely. The message they receive is loud and clear. The American playbook can be beaten. If Venezuela can do it, so can we. This success validates their methods and encourages them to invest even more in their own ghost fleets. It pushes the whole idea of using oil as a political weapon into uncharted territory. We're moving towards a world with two parallel systems: the official regulated market and this growing opaque shadow network that operates by its own rules. The more it works, the more it grows, fundamentally changing how global trade and power work. But this doesn't mean the chase is over. On the contrary, it sparked an invisible high-tech war to track these ghosts down. So, if these ships can turn invisible to normal tracking, how do you find them? Welcome to the 21st century spy game on the high seas. When the transponders go dark, intelligence agencies switch to other tools. Tools these ghost ships can't easily switch off. The most important one comes from space. Spy satellites equipped with something called synthetic aperture radar can see through clouds and darkness. They don't look for a signal. They look for the massive metal silhouette of a tanker itself against the water. It's like switching from looking for a blinking light to looking for the actual object. Meanwhile, financial analysts are following the money, tracing complex webs of payments through shell companies. Port authorities in friendly countries are tipped off to watch for specific vessels. It's a global game of cat and mouse, combining satellite images, data hacking, and old-fashioned human intelligence. But even with all this tech, the hunters are playing catch-up. The ghosts have a head start, and every successful run makes them smarter. This brings us to the final crucial piece of the puzzle. What does this all mean for Venezuela itself, and what does it tell us about the future? So after all this, the dark ships, the naval standoff, the global chess game, what does Venezuela actually get out of it? For the government in Caracas, this is far more than a simple oil sale. This is their biggest strategic win in years. They are fighting for pure survival. Every barrel that gets through is a lifeline. It means hard currency to import food and medicine, to pay soldiers, to keep the basic functions of the state from collapsing. But just as importantly, it's a powerful symbol. It proves to their own people and to the world that they are not isolated. They have a way around the blockade and they have a powerful partner in China. This success is the ultimate morale boost and a political tool showing that despite immense pressure, they can still navigate, outmaneuver, and secure their most vital resource. It turns the narrative from one of a country under siege to one of a country finding clever ways to resist. But this story isn't just about Venezuela. It's a much bigger sign of how power works today. In the end, this high-seas drama between ghost tankers and a superpower navy is a perfect snapshot of our changing world. It shows us that the old rules of raw military power are hitting their limits. You can have the biggest navy, but if your opponent uses secrecy, global networks, and economic ties, stopping them becomes incredibly messy and risky. It reveals how smaller countries like Venezuela can now play the big powers against each other. By offering a resource, they can get the protection or partnership of a rival like China. This isn't the Cold War with two clear sides. It's a more fragmented, complicated game where economic ties are just as important as military alliances. Finally, It signals a world where the tools to resist superpower pressure. Dark fleets, secret finance, cyber tools are becoming more accessible. The game is no longer just about who has the most ships, but about who can best navigate the shadows of our interconnected planet. The Dark Fleet journey is more than a cargo run. It's a message that the playbook for global power is being rewritten right now out on the open ocean.